Hey guys, what's going on, and welcome to today's video for Legends of Runeterra. Today we're going to be talking about what is probably one of, if not my favorite deck in the current meta. It's actually the deck I used for a majority of my climb from Diamond into Masters. We're going to be talking about Zoe Fiora. I don't know what I would call it. Mid-range control combo. It's pretty much a protect a unit deck and win with that unit you're protecting. So, enough rambling, let's look at the deck really quick. Okay, here we go. So how to start this off? First off, really quick description of the deck before we start talking about the cards individually. Zoe Fiora is a deck that has 3 separate avenues of attack. They will all be very similar, but there are 3 different units that you will be using as your main win cons. First off is Zoe, second off is Fiora, and the third one is Sparklefly. Each of them are very good in certain matchups. Specifically, for example, Sparklefly is great against aggro. Now, the main game plan of this deck, if you cannot guess it already from just looking at a quick glance of the deck, is you're going to play a unit, whether that is Zoe, Sparklefly, or Fiora, and you are going to buff that unit up and protect that unit and try to win the game through that, whether it's through just damage from an elusive like Zoe or Sparklefly or killing things with Fiora. Sounds a little bit difficult, but if you know your opponent's deck well, then it's not that difficult. I will say this is a deck that, while it is a little difficult to play, it's not extremely difficult to play. And it really rewards you for knowing your opponent's deck list, knowing the kind of combat tricks you have to play around, and so on and so forth. So, let's look at the cards individually now. First off, we have 2 Chain Vests. I really like Chain Vest in the current meta because Go Hard is popular, the most played deck at the moment, and Chain Vest kind of negates the Go Hards themselves. Sure, the Go Hards are still resolving, the Go Hard counter is still ticking up, and they're still shuffling more Go Hards into the deck and working towards that pack your bags, but your units won't be taking damage from the Go Hard itself, so that's why I really like Chain Vest. So you can Chain Vest one of your units that you're building up, they're pretty much immune to the Go Hards themselves, very nice. One of Radiant Strike, just because of it's a nice, cheap combat trick. This is a flex spot in all honesty. You could put in something else, such as a, I don't know, a Spirit's Refuge, or pretty much anything, a third Chain Vest if you really want it. The problem with Chain Vest is it kind of gets worse in multiples, but still. Next up, we got Zoe. Zoe's, in my opinion, probably the worst of the 3 win cons. Sure, she's just mostly going to be a 1-mana 1/1 elusive who generates star charts, and yes, you can get Moonglow from the star charts to help you buff something else up. I wouldn't say you should try to buff up Zoe too much. Sure, if you have nothing else, you're kind of forced into buffing up Zoe and having her be the big unit you will use as your win con, but in pretty much almost every matchup, I'd rather have Sparklefly or Fiora be the unit I'm buffing up and have Zoe as just something creating value, trying to absorb removal, and just threatening a level up. Sure, Zoe leveling up in this deck is not amazing because there aren't that many units, but it's still a leveled up Zoe, which is very powerful because of Behold the Infinite and, you know, the whole keywords to all allies kind of thing. Also, her champ spell is really nice too against Grand Plaza. Grand Plaza is somewhat difficult as they can do scout challenge attacks, and Zoe's Trouble Bubble can stun a challenger that has scouts, such as a Grizzled Ranger, which is nice. Next up, 3 Guiding Touches, just a good spell in general. No Pale Cascades, you might notice, because you can't really fit them in this deck. And in my honest opinion, Pale Cascade's not amazing in the meta right now. And Pale Cascade doesn't do the best at protecting your units. I think Guiding Touch is better at protecting your units. And also it helps you heal up against more aggressive decks, so it's nice. Heal up your units after combat, cycle through the deck like Pale Cascade. Next up, we got 3 Hushes because, well, it's the best card in Targon pretty much right now. The meta's really full of things like Zoes and Lee Sins and other things that you just want to hush like Zap. So you kind of need to play 3 Hushes. You could go down to 2 Hushes, but I would say whatever you put in over a third Hush needs to be a really high impact, very strong card, because Hush is so good. Don't be afraid to preemptively Hush, of course, against something like, say, a Twisted Fate, or maybe a Lucian, or a Challenger unit from a Grand Plaza deck. Just really nice. Next up, 3 Sharp Sights. Not much to talk about with this card. Probably one of the best combat tricks in the game outside of Pale Cascade. Even compared to Pale Cascade, it's still really good. Good stats for the cost. And the whole I can block elusives, while it's not amazing because Zoe and Sparklefly can already block elusives, it's still really nice with Fiora. And then 3 single combats. Just, you know, not much to talk about with single combat either. This card's been in the game since the game first came out. We all know why this card is good. Lets you pick off annoying things your opponent might not necessarily attack in with. Could let you level up and win with a Fiora right away. Just pretty solid card. Next up, we got the second of the 3 main win cons. We got Sparklefly, 2 mana, 1/2, Lifesteal Elusive. This is the card that you will want against aggro, whether it is Scouts, whether it's discard aggro, burn, whatever. This is the card that will save you. You buff up a Sparklefly, and unless they have something like Hush, they are not getting around and outracing a Sparklefly unless they go really, really all in to the board. And then you have other units like Fiora to try and slow them down. Another thing I didn't mention about Zoe is, while she is one of the worst units to buff up, and pretty much the worst unit to buff up in this deck, her super cool star chart is really good for just developing more and more units to slow down the game against those more aggro decks. So, I really like Sparklefly. Next up, Fiora. A tale as old as this game. Buff up Fiora, kill 4 things, win the game. Great champ spell. Not much to talk about here with Fiora, in all honesty. A lot of your games are going to be won with a Fiora. So, yeah. Next up, we got another unit. This unit is not really a unit. Sure, Mentor of the Zones is technically a unit, but he's mostly just here to give a buff to one of your units and die and give you some gems. Buffing up Sparklefly, especially against aggro, is pretty much game, as you can then probably block something against aggro and then just gem up your Sparklefly, and then you'll have like a 6/4 if my math is correctly. If you use all your gems and you buff the Sparklefly with a Mentor, your aggro opponent's probably not outracing a 6/4 Sparklefly. And then 2 Prismatic Barriers. We play Prismatic Barrier over Spirit's Refuge and more Riposte, as it's just cheap and efficient. Another thing is lots of 2s and 1-ofs in the deck because it's a Zoe deck, and by playing more 2s and 1-ofs that are very similar in effect, such as Prismatic Barrier and Riposte, Zoe has a better chance at leveling up quickly. So yeah, I just like the card. Sometimes it's even better than Riposte because you don't need the +3 from Riposte, and you just need a cheap barrier so you can bluff other things like Sharp Sight, of course. 1 Relentless Pursuit. Very nice as a 1-of, in my opinion here. I would not play more than 1 in this list. It is also a flex spot too. You could cut it for maybe another barrier or maybe something else. But it lets you use things like Fiora to kill something scary, threaten lethal with Sparklefly, or just gain more health with Sparklefly against aggro. Very nice card. 3 Bastions. Next up. Not much to talk about, again, with this card. It's just really good. Lets you basically counter enemy removal spells. They try to play, say, a Vengeance. You play Bastion. They cry unless they have something like Vile Feast. I will say this. Don't be afraid to play Bastion preemptively in response to nothing, basically. Especially against other Targon decks, because if you play Bastion, they won't be able to respond with anything because, you know, Burst Spell. And you might want to do that because if you're playing against a Targon deck, they're probably playing at least 2 Hushes, maybe even 3 Hushes themselves, and Hush is a very strong answer to this deck and very tough to beat. I will talk more about Hush when we've talked about the rest of the cards, because Hush is not completely game over for this deck. Next up, 2 Riposte, just more barriers, and these barriers let you trade up. Really nice. Standalone is just a very good way to buff up your units really quickly. Just really nice. This is one of the first ways you are going to start buffing a unit, along with Mentor. You will try to usually get a standalone really quickly on your first unit, whether it is Zoe, Sparklefly, or Fiora. Just don't think to yourselves that just because you played a standalone on something, you have to go all in on that unit. It's not necessary. Just use that unit for value and don't throw too many resources into it if you don't feel it's worth it. And then next up, we have 2 Unyielding Spirits. While at the current time of me playing this, I'm not running into too many units or too many decks that play things like Denies and Obliterates. So I really like this. It's really nice against Go Hard. Your opponent tries to... The only way Go Hard has a way of dealing with Unyielding Spirit is Vengeance. And so if they go below Vengeance mana and you play Unyielding Spirit, they're most likely not going to be able to remove the Unyielding Spirit unit. Sure, Hush is a thing. Sure, Lee Sin is a thing. And Deny is becoming more and more popular. But I still think 2 Unyielding Spirits are nice. You could cut down to maybe 1 or even 0 and put in other kinds of tricks. But I like it as a 2-up now. It's won me a lot of games just on turn 5 when I would play like a turn 3 Fiora. Turn 4 whatever, turn 5 Unyielding Spirit, and then my opponent just gives up because they weren't expecting Unyielding Spirit, and then they just play a bunch of cards. I play Unyielding Spirit, and then they cry. Now, before we get into the games themselves, let's talk about Hush really quick, because a lot of people think Hush means this deck is a bad deck. Here is the thing about Hush. If you think your opponent is playing Hush, and if you see your opponent is playing a Targon deck, you should assume they are playing at the bare minimum 2 Hushes, because we're in a Hush meta right now. What you do is still attack in and still put on pressure, but you don't necessarily attack in unless you have a way to protect the unit that's getting buffed up, Voltroned up, if you will, post Hush. For example, let's say you're buffing up, I don't know, Fiora or Sparklefly. Let's go with Sparklefly instead of Fiora. Say you've buffed up this Sparklefly. You've played like a standalone on it, maybe even a Chain Vest or whatever. And, you know, and even a Mentor buff too, so it's really big. You know, it's doing its thing. It's pushing in damage, getting it, give some life. And then you attack in, and your opponent plays Hush. Yes, that's bad. But if you were playing properly, you should have a way to try to protect Sparklefly. Remember, Hush is only temporary. This is not Purify from Demacia. If your unit can survive the round and not die that turn, basically the Hush turn, everything reverts. Your buffed unit will be buff again. So I would recommend not attacking in if you don't have a way to play against the Hush, unless you have to attack in, of course. For example, you need the life, or there's a really important unit that Fiora wants to kill. So that's how you beat Hush with the deck. For example, what are some of the cards that are really good at protecting your unit post-Hush? Prismatic Barrier, Riposte, Unyielding Spirit's okay too, but that's 8 mana, of course. Sharp Sights are great. Your own Hushes are nice too, to try and remove enemy tricks as well. So, very fun deck. It feels very good when you win with this deck. Every kind of win with this deck feels nice. So, let's get into a few games really quick so I can show you just how to play this deck really well. Okay. All right, let's see here. We got a Lucian Hecarim deck. This is a okay hand. I'm going to throw away the Chain Vest and the Guiding Touch, as this is not a matchup where I really want Chain Vest, but I will keep Zoe standalone. I really don't like Zoe too much in this matchup. Sure, I do like to get a Crescent Strike or something from the star chart to Crescent Strike units from a... what's it called? From a Grand Plaza. Also, you should think about not playing Zoe on turn 1 if you don't have the attack token, so you can bluff things like Sharp Sight. This hand's not looking too good, in all honesty. Little lackluster here, but at least I get to do 2 attacks in before they can play a Grand Plaza unit attack, so that's nice. I feel like in this matchup, I'm going to need to find a Sparklefly, as I just did. And I'm going to have to buff this Sparklefly. I would love if they kill this unit, in fact. So here's a thing. First off, I'm really happy they don't have a Plaza. I think I will play Sparkle Fly here because I have Chain Vest to protect this, and I would like to bank this 3 mana. I will take this all too, by the way. I might consider blocking the Shark Chariot, though. I am actually really considering that, so I can just remove the Zoe and start the Sparkle Fly train. And I think that is the play. I also like this play because, one, it slows down their clock, and as I started with Shark Chariot, I really need to slow them down, and it activates my standalones. That's the biggest thing, is activating the standalones. And I have another Zoe, too. Sure, I don't have Sleepy Trouble Bubble, and I'd rather have Sleepy Trouble Bubble, but it's whatever, in my opinion. Now here, I'm just going to play standalone, attack in. I think this is a good line of play. I could play Mentor here as well, but I think it is best to, at the very least, just pass after this, depending on what they do. If they play... Okay, Grizzled Ranger's interesting. Yeah, I think I'll just pass here. I would rather bank this mana so I can do combat tricks. Also, so I can play another standalone. Like, this is a game where I feel like this is a good example of this game. We are just going to buff up Sparkle Fly, and sure, they can try to race us, but they're probably not going to race us and outrace a elusive Sparkle Fly. I think I will play a Mentor here, though. Mentor does trade with Grizzled Ranger, and I would like to buff up the Sparkle Fly really quick. Sure, they could single combat something here. I don't think that's crazy good if they do that. There are some really strong plays for them right now. They can play a Grand Plaza into some spells. This is annoying, but not special. If this is what they do and they just kill a Mentor here and attack in like this, I'm fine with that. Like, I get a heal here, so I go back to full health and then I take 5, sure. Okay, never mind, I take 8, whatever. And now I can just, I have options here. I could play Zoe. And I think I will. I think I will start by a burst pass with this gem here. See where it goes from there. They just want to pass as well. Okay, okay. I will play Zoe here. I could have done it in the opposite order. True, but I was trying to make them do something. Sure, this means I can't play standalone, but now I can start doing some super cool star chart stuff. And, you know, that's value, right? So I will open this up with a star chart, I think. Yeah, I'll star chart gem, and then maybe gem again, depending on what I see here. Moonglow is great. Serpent's always also good, too. Like, star chart is such a good card. From Zoe, of course. So I want here at least 3 mana for the Sharp Sight and Chain Vest. And I have 7 mana, so I have 4 mana to play around with. If I play Moonglow, I think it's worth here. I have a heal and Guiding Touch. I have Chain Vest, and I have Sharp Sight to protect this in case they try a single combat or a concerted strike. And they tried the concerted strike. Okay, so that's 5 damage. This thing is only a 5/5, I believe. This will make... The Chain Vest will make it only do, I believe, 3 damage here. So it will be... Yeah, 5/1 into a 5/3. You love to see it. And now I can just attack in. This is beautiful. I could heal up again, I think. It's not a bad idea, so I gain even more health now. If they have Sharp Sight themselves, I have Sharp Sight as well. I could have played Gem again to heal up my Sparkle Fly again. But yeah, this is a good example of this deck. We just buffed up the unit, now we're winning. We're drawing other units too. Sure, our standalone's kind of dead right now, but it's honestly fine. And right now, I'm just going to pass. I'm going to put it on them to do something. If they want to play units, I will play Star Chart and look for a Crescent Strike. If it's a Haunted Relic, that's annoying, but whatever. And I think I will play Fiora here, actually. If they want to play another unit, they'll have to destroy a spirit, so this is fine. I'll lose Zoe, but losing Zoe doesn't matter here too much, in all honesty. they get a, I'll gain the life again. They get another, what, 8 damage, 9 damage here. It doesn't matter. Again, as I said before, Sparklefly is doing its job. I could have looked for a Crescent Strike, I guess, but I don't think it's needed. I'll just let this go off. And now I can win next turn with Sparklefly. But yeah, I will start with this, because I want to look for something. Oh, hey, speaking of winning, I am not going to use that right now. I will Star Chart to not waste any mana here. Equinox. Equinox is nice against Grand Plaza. Equinox lets you silence a unit they summon, so they can't actually, you know, they can't actually do the challenger. Also, keeping Fiora alive is really nice too, because you can threaten riposte. But yeah, so I win, opponent, right? Can you stop this? I don't think you can. Good game, opponent. And that's how you play the deck. Oh, hey, Fiora levels up too. Why not? I think that's a very good example of how to play this deck.
As I expected.
Okay, welcome back to the deck itself. I was thinking about having another game on the video for another example, but I feel like that previous game you just saw was just such a perfect, pure, clear example of how to play the deck. It would kind of, it's perfect. There's no need to show more of the deck being played outside of, I guess, content reasons and just padding out the video length. But I don't want to try to do that. I want to keep the video from being too long and rambly. But yes, as you can see there, at first we started off with Zoe, and I actually traded off Zoe for a Shark Chariot. You might think that's crazy, but by doing that, we were able to activate our standalones, and we used the standalone on Sparklefly, which won the game, as my opponent, a Grand Plaza player, was unable to deal with it. Sure, if they had Grand Plaza on turn 3, yes, they might have had a better shot at trying to kill me. But again, like I said, if they had done that, then I would have changed my entire game plan. I would have looked for Crescent Strikes from the super cool star charts. I would have used more combat tricks to protect things from dying. I would have maybe tried to go a little more aggro and attack a little bit harder, but they didn't play their Plaza until I think around turn 6, turn 7. I can't remember the exact turn. So, very fun deck. If you're a fan of, I believe it's called Boggles in Magic the Gathering, those kind of decks, this is very similar. You take a single unit. I don't know what the Hearthstone equivalent is, if there is one. But basically, take a unit, throw a bunch of buffs on it, Voltron it up, to use card game terminology, and protect it and win the game that way. Just look out for Hush is all I have to say. So, that's going to be it for today's video for Legends of Runeterra. I hope you all enjoyed this deck. I enjoy the deck. It's a very fun deck. Very, very viable in the meta, in my opinion. Very solid, strong tier 2 deck, I would say, at the very least. I wouldn't say it's tier 1, but it's a very solid tier 2 deck in my opinion. Anyway, though, with that all said and done, I hope you all enjoyed the list. I hope you all enjoy the deck if you try it out. Again, like I said, very fun if you're just looking for a fun deck that's actually kind of decent. I believe over 30 games I had maybe a 25-5 streak, 25 wins, 5 losses. I can't remember my exact win rate. I could look it up if I wanted to, but I'm too lazy in all honesty. So yeah, again, like I said too earlier, lots of flex spots. You can tune the deck to do other things, put more tricks, put more relentless pursuits, take out the standalone, or sorry, not take out the standalones, take out the unyielding spirits, and put in all kinds of stuff. So yeah, that's it for today's video. Hope you all enjoyed it. I would love to hear from you guys if you have been playing this and what you think of the deck as well. Please don't nerf Zoe Rito, even though she's showing up like crazy everywhere. She's still very fun. And that'll be it. So, again, like I said, if you enjoyed the video, though, or you just would like to see some other deck that I haven't done on the channel, please be sure to leave a like or a comment down below. I'd love to hear from you guys. If you guys want to keep up with the Runeterra content as well, you can always subscribe to the channel, of course. And if you want to catch me playing some more Runeterra, I stream over on my Twitch account, Twitch TV/Zenaton, pretty much every single day almost, playing decks like this and other various decks a lot of the time, and doing okay in my opinion on the latter. So yeah, that's it. Hope you all enjoyed it. Thank you for watching, and until I see you guys in the next video, bye.